Ladies, gentlemen, we are here for the 12th siege analysis. I was about to say consecutive, but it hasn't been consecutive. There's been a couple of weeks taken off. And I was about to say annual, but it's also not annual. So we're here for the 12th siege analysis. In this particular siege, we are going up against Nexus Doom, a rank 301 clan. And as you can see, right now at least, we are definitely winning. So this particular clan doesn't appear to be trying too hard inside the siege mode. Obviously, still 10 hours, 52 minutes left inside the siege, though, so it's still very possible that they're going to make a comeback, or at least try to, right? Although, at this point, I would certainly doubt it. But that being said, since the last siege analysis I've done, there's actually been some huge updates to siege. So there's now traps that you can implement inside your defensive resources, so you can have, like, certain champions hidden, and you know, all those sorts of good things. There's additionally 2 new tiers as well. So we have tier 7 and we have tier 8, which is pretty cool. So to get to tier 8, you have to have victory in tier 7. To get into tier 7, you must earn 5,000 victory points and win the previous siege. While in tier 7, you fight alongside your clan in at least 30 siege battles to get your tier 7 rewards. So, quite interesting stuff. The rewards themselves appear to be exactly the same as they do for tier 6, which is a bit of a shame. I wish that there was some better rewards, right? Seeing like 4 of these pieces, or, you know, seeing like even 5, even 6 of these pieces for being in like a top performing clan would certainly be motivation for people to get there and actually participate a bit more. Certainly for me, right? Feral gear is fantastic. The more feral gear that we can get, the better. We're going to go ahead and claim this gear here. As always, I will also go ahead and post a screenshot of how the siege finalized once it finalizes tomorrow morning when I get up, and I'll post that on the same day that this video goes live. But all that being said, let's go ahead and take a look and see how things are performing. So I want to go over the defense here first. I did have a defense set inside post 8. This was my defense, so I had Doom Screech, I had Beast Wrangler, Beastmaster, whatever his name is, Tree Shield Knot, and then Seducer. So this was kind of just a team that, in all honesty, I had to throw in last minute because I seen that the post announcements went out. So basically inside my clan's Discord, the clan leader is going to go ahead and share where they want everybody to be placing their champions. So I got assigned to post 8 because I have some decent rare teams. So I kind of threw this in last minute, and it bit me, right? So defensive reports, 1 try to get through this. Nothing too special here in terms of the team. Basically just Berserker coming in, blasting us down, and then Gear Grinder for a bit of support, and then Renegade to come in and reset Berserker and blast us down again. So I'm going to be switching things up. Because as of right now, at least, I just put my Carnage gear onto this champion, which means that he's a little bit fast. So I think he'll still actually have the gear on him, so we can go ahead and take a look here. But yeah, he's certainly a bit faster than I'd like to see. So he's at 241 on the speed with 105 and 285 crit rate and crit damage respectively. Now, that is pretty decent because he's inside, obviously, lethal, but the problem is that he's only inside 1 piece of stone skin. So it's not even my Carnage gear that I put on him, which I meant to do. This is actually my Sun Wukong build, so he's faster than I want, and then additionally he's also obviously not inside stone skin. So ideally, what I'm going to do here in the future is I'm going to go ahead and slow him down a little bit. Don't mind the fact that I have Draught of Ire on him. You know, I just had really nothing else to throw on him. But basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and slow him down to maybe like under 200 speed, to be honest, and then put him inside stone skin with quite a bit of resistance, and then also make sure that he's inside like Savage or something like that, because really what we're doing is we're looking for this big money skill on his Slaughter, right? And then his First Blood passive, so increases his damage inflicted by 50% for the first hit on each enemy. Why it's important that we slow down is because I've noticed that in a lot of these fights, the other teams are coming in fairly slow as well, especially considering that they're rare champions, and then they're just in stone skin or something like that. So especially with him being at 240, it's very likely that he's going to end up going first. which then means that obviously the bonus damage that we would get on this is not going to do anything. And then obviously if this is used and it's on cooldown, we also can't block the revive on anybody. So that's certainly something I'm thinking about. I am also thinking about bringing in Diabolist. Diabolist now has a 6-star awakening, which is pretty cool. I'll be doing a review on her here soon. She obviously has the turn meter fill and pushback. She has the increased speed, and then she has a sleep on the A1. So a very, very good rare, all things considered. And then obviously with that awakening, we can get the additional 3 or 7 speed on her as well, which would be pretty helpful. Some other options I've been considering. So Red Cloak Taneko has a decent kit. So she has an AoE buff removal plus a decreased speed on all enemies on a 75% land rate. So this is actually pretty crazy, to be honest. She also has an AoE increase accuracy on everybody. And then also a turn meter decrease. And she's a defensive-based damage dealer. So as always, the more you build her to survive, the more damage she's going to end up doing. She looks absolutely fantastic as well. The Shadowkin have some really good-looking champions inside their faction, I'm not going to lie. The only thing with her is I would like to get a higher awakening on her so that I can get the extra speed. But, I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. Tree Shield Knot also needs to be rebuilt. He's not incredibly tanky right now. So, as you can see, only 50,000 HP, 4,200 defense, and then he's also very slow and not a whole lot of resistance. So, I need to make him either higher resistance, stone skin, something like that, just to make sure that he can survive. He is built out inside all reaction, which certainly does help. But, I mean, it's also not the best build that I could have on him. So that's basically the weaknesses of my particular defense. Let's go ahead and also take a look and just see the rest of the defenses here. So they haven't even gotten all the way to the stronghold yet. So they're up here at post 16. We have kind of gotten rolled, though. Like, there's not really any defenses where they seem to struggle too much. So they kind of just walk through here. This one was the one that I found that was kind of notable. So we have Len in here. And then obviously they were doing some scouting trips, which is kind of funny because this guy came in with 2 scouting trips and then just lost anyways. I'm assuming it was to help kind of tank, because it seems like they're just not wanting to push, right? So it looks like there's definite tankage happening here. I know some people are getting triggered when I say that like a clan appears to be tanking or something like that, but I mean, when you have a top 300 clan who's scored 600 points against us with 10 hours left, it kind of appears that they're tanking whether or not it's intentional, right? So I call it how it is here on this channel. You guys know how it is. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at the attacks here now. So in terms of my attacks, I took out post 5. So this was the team here. I'll go ahead and move myself now so you guys can get a better look. So the defensive team, the defensive team was Arbiter, +2 empowered Arbiter with a 2-star awakening is pretty rough, by the way. A 6-star Armands, and then they also had a Siegfried and a Marichka. Now, I brought in Embrace as my damage dealer, and I managed to switch forms. I have like a head cold right now, so I still got some snot going on, so sometimes the mucus gets built up in my nose and it's hard to breathe, so don't mind that. But yeah, I brought in Embrace. I managed to get him switched over to his form 2, and then I managed to block revive the Siegfried with his A1, which made it just a super easy fight. After that, I went ahead and sunk my key into the first team here on DT1, so Defensive Tower 1. The team, obviously, on the left-hand side there was a bit questionable. 24 million player power account. I was expecting a pretty okay team, but obviously pretty low awakenings, and I was able to do some easy work. As you can see, I didn't even need to bring in a support champion. Just took it down pretty easily, so nothing too crazy there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stronghold here. So if I can actually click on the stronghold, there we go, my god. So scrolling through the stronghold here, there didn't appear to be too many teams that we really struggled with. It was just this one that needed a rebattle there, but I mean, nothing too crazy. It is definitely a pretty scary team to go against, though, for a lot of people, myself included. The only real weakness with it is, so you have Shu Zhen, and then you have Lammasu, you have Galathier, and you have Georgian. So very, very decent team composition if you were in Live Arena or something like that, especially considering that this Shu Zhen is a 6-star awakened, right? She's going to be lightning fast. The problem is, though, is that on auto, it's going to be very hard to reliably get the AI to do what you want it to, because all your defensive fights obviously are on auto. So I wouldn't be surprised if the targeting was messed up, so that even if they did go first, that's how we were able to win. I'll have to ask T-Fern about that, because I'm kind of curious. But yeah, nothing too crazy there. Looking at some of the shrines here, so this one was pretty crazy, by the way, where we had a +4 Nice, who was able to solo this team here. So obviously a 520,000 player, or player power, team power, on a 27 million player power account. Definitely not too much of a slouch, but you can see he just came in and soloed it there. That's how broken he is, by the way. Like, you think about it, a lockout champion, a champion specifically designed to counter mythicals, a control champion, and then also just a nuker, right? Getting soloed by a champion. That's pretty wild. Nothing else too crazy in here, though. We did have some rebattles here going into Mr. Derek, a team definitely full of RNG, which makes it kind of hard to fight, but Mr. Sose came in and took him out with the Empress, and then the Nell as well. Absolutely hate Nell to go against her, but I'd love to own her, so it's kind of one of those champions. And then some rebattles here with Plagued as well. We had DT2 coming in here, nothing too crazy as you can see. DT3, not really any rebattles needed there. DT4, again, same thing, kind of just rolling through here, right? Nothing too crazy. We'll take a look through the magic towers as well. So obviously we had some rebattles sunk in here, and then we had a few rebattles sunk in here as well. Interesting to try and go against this with an epic team. That's kind of funny. Just a scouting mission, I assume. And then, yeah, some rebattles here. So, all in all, a pretty interesting siege. It's definitely hard to commentate about these sometimes when it is such a blowout, because what do you say, right? Like, it'd be different if they were pushing our stronghold and making it a little bit more interesting. But that being said, it's obviously, you know, nothing against the clan or the players. So if somebody happens to be watching it, don't be butthurt in my comments. I'm just, you know, I'm just commentating. But yeah. So a couple things to go over with Siege. If you're trying to progress inside Siege, or if you're trying to improve inside Siege, just remember that you can do scouting missions. So for example, if you're trying to go in on post 1, or let me find a rebattle here that I can show you, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at the rebattle. So if I was going in against this team and I wasn't sure how fast their Crixia was, for example, what I could do is I could literally just come in here with some random champion, so like a Shamael, and then just say like, hey, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to let them do their thing, right? It could also be a champion like, for example, if I can find her, an Arbiter, right? So my Arbiter is like 382 speed. Let's say I didn't plan on using an Arbiter in this fight, but if I put her in here and they go first, well, then I know that she's faster than 382 speed, right? I can also get a good idea of what their AI is set up to do. So, for example, I could figure out, hey, does Marius open with his A2 or does he open with his A3? And that's kind of important, because if he opens with his A3, then you can start to bring in champions that have Wand of Submission. You might want to bring in Stone Skin so you don't get stunned, all those sorts of good things. Same kind of thing with Sun Wukong. So, for example, if he's opening with his A2, you might want to bring in a UDK just so you don't get absolutely slammed. If he's opening with his A3, you might want to bring in champions inside Stone Skin with a little bit more resistance on them, right? So, a few things to consider there. And obviously, we all have rebattles, right? So, use your rebattles. Go in, do a scouting mission with one champion, or, you know, a champion that you're not going to use in the fight, or you're not going to use in your sieges, and then figure out what's going on. See if they're in Stone Skin, see if they're in bolster sets, those sorts of things, especially if you have champions that can counter shields. So, for example, if you have Narcissus, you should definitely be going in and scouting and seeing if the defensive team has bolster or Stone Skin or what they got going on. So just a huge tip there. I've seen that become a lot more prominent over the last little bit, but there are still some players who don't utilize it the best that it could be. So definitely make sure you're doing that if you're trying to push up inside Siege. And it's beneficial at all levels of Siege, not just the lower levels or the higher levels or the mid levels, right? Everybody can benefit from that tip. But that being said, there is a join button down below if you want to join the channel as a member and support it a little bit more than the average viewer. There's also a subscribe and a like button. Go ahead, make sure to mash those both if you like the content. Thank you guys all so much for watching. We'll see you next time.